Okay guys, I want to show you my bottom field that I called the weedy disaster. At the end of the video, I'll give links back to it where I was discussing what I did. And so this is the late season. Here we are, I think it's September 8th today. We're looking at the field. And even though I called it a weedy disaster, there's a fair amount of velvet leaf out there. I'll zoom up on a velvet leaf. And you can see the velvet leaf has dropped his leaves. He's done what he's going to do for the year. Down there on that knob, there is, well, right up to the edge of that knob, there's a weed spot that I always have there. But this is a look at the field. And then on that north far edge over there, there is a row, a couple rows. There's a cucumber patch that I have not managed to get rid of. But this is the field. Beautiful little 11-acre field. This is my weediest field for this year. So what I want to talk about here, I didn't show that pass. I'm going to walk out in the bean field here a little bit. And I'm going to show you a bean. Let's pull a bean here and look at it. Lots of nodules there. And yes, it's loaded top to bottom. The weeds in this field, there was in effect no yield reduction. On that end there was a little bit. On my turn rows, where there's always more compaction next to the trees, there will be yield reduction. And that weed patch down there on the far end, there will be some yield reduction. But otherwise, there's really no yield reduction on this field. So how did I get to that point? I talked about the cultivation videos, and like I said, I'll put that link. But this field, one thing that it got that the other fields did not get was late in July there. I did do a pass with the Krause cultivator, and the beans had started to bloom at that point. And what the Krause did for me at that point in time was it really it cleaned the field up as good as could physically be done. There was a fair amount of grass that was killed. The Krause is so aggressive, anything in the row, in between the rows, got killed, including ones that I had missed with my aggressive Danish tine passes. But the Krause came along and it moved a lot of dirt. There were morning glories at that point that were bridging the row, and the Krause just rips them out. There was some foxtail that was close to the row, that had floated through the Danish tine cultivator, and it ripped them out. But, at that point in time, I ran the risk of stressing the beans, and if it hadn't rained, I would have run the risk of, causing the bean to drop the pods or drop the blooms. And it would have hurt me. But I knew the field had some weed issues, and so I closed my eyes, and I did do that cultivation at the end of July. And now here we are, 5 months or 5 weeks later, and luckily we did get rain. And so the beans, that last injury, if it did anything to them, it stimulated them. It didn't hurt them. They didn't drop anything. They kept all of their pods. And so, that's part luck that it kept raining. But weed control is it's a spectrum, and you're constantly working on it. You're constantly thinking about it, and you're playing the weather. You're playing the odds. But it's a challenge. I had a viewer ask me in the middle of August, he had some weed issues, and he was asking, should he go out and cultivate again? And my response to him was the one that I'm trying to share in this video here. And that's, you, in general, you want to get a hold of the weeds early. And the later in the season that you are doing cultivation passes, you're stressing the plant. So when you have lots of moisture, yes, you can get away with it. If moisture is limiting, it's not good to stress the bean anytime from, about July 20th to well, all the way through the month of August. It's a bad idea to stress the bean at that point in time. That has been my experience. It may be different for other people, but that has been my experience. So this was the field where I did stress the beans after they had already started blooming and started, setting pods. And because of the rain, I turned a bad situation into a plumb tolerable situation. So anyway, this is my weedy disaster. And at the time I was doing those operations, I knew that we could achieve something like this. From the road, it kind of looks rough. But what's actually happening out in the field, once you get out in the field, is that it actually looks pretty good. And the weeds will not really limit the yield at all. The most we would see out here would probably be 3-4% reduction. On the end there, you will have, I don't know, maybe up to a 30% reduction. But the end rows where I turn around are very, very minimal. So a late season look at an organic bean field, and we are combining the clover right now. Over there in that bottom, there will be a video coming about that maybe. But you can see the beautiful bean fields up on the hill, and you can see the bean field past the windmill there that goes up onto that hill. The hill fields had perfect weed control. So this is one of the hill fields that I wanted to show you. And because we have had this wet year like this, the hill fields look like this. There's my chest. They're about 4 inches below my chest. They're way covering my belly button, and I am I used to be a 6 foot tall, 6 foot 2 inch tall man. Now I've kind of shrunk down to 6 foot 1. But the hills are just unbelievable. These beans were planted at the same time as the bottom field, and if there is a difference here, the difference is that last cultivation, that did stress the beans a little bit. If we pull a bean here, the bean here is going to, the hill here will probably out yield the bottom. One of the reasons this particular field is looking so good was because it had a heavy manure application. But anyway, just a good year, and this is what is possible with good management. All of the hill fields, I'm very proud of the hill fields this year. They're all looking very good, including the one over there that, was following sorghum. Following sorghum, the beans will not yield near as well as they will, following corn or clover or something else. And most of the bottoms had good weed control too. It was just this one field where I probably jumped the gun. And so I'll put the links for the earlier videos on this field at the end of the video. Thanks for watching, guys.